So good morning, everybody. My name is Aneta, and I am here to represent our organization, People in Need. People in Need is basically a Czech-based organization, but we work in more than 25 countries globally. And I personally am based in Ethiopia, where we are now trying to implement the system as well. The system I'm going to talk about very briefly has been implemented firstly in Cambodia, but now also adopted in Laos and Philippines. So basically the early warning system 1294 is the system that has been developed by our organization People in Need together with the National Committee for Disaster Management of Cambodia, and has been now recognized and fully adopted in all provinces in Cambodia. Now, why we decided to develop the system is basically because all these data that we've been talking about, we realized with the study that we've done that only 25% of Cambodian actually knew that the risk is coming. So 70%, 75% of people did not know that the hazard is there and that the floods are coming. So we were thinking about how to make the system and how to make the data available to the most vulnerable, to the communities who are the ones most affected by the floods or by any other hazard. So the early warning system 1294 disseminates life-saving early warning information to vulnerable communities by quite a simple system. Together with the National Committee for Disaster Management in Cambodia, we trained the national technicians who can then use the system, and the system can disseminate the messages to the communities. Why 1294? It's because the phone number that belongs to the National Committee for Disaster Management, and basically everybody can access the system by calling the number and signing up for the system. It's free of charge, and it's available in local languages. So as I mentioned, the system has been adopted in Laos and Philippines as well, but we are now trying to see how the system can be adopted in other contexts where we operate. How does it basically work? As I mentioned, together with the National Committee, the sensors have been installed in all different provinces, and the national technicians have been trained on usage of the system. So once the sensors meet the threshold and they alert about the hazard, the messages are disseminated to people who signed up to receive those messages. The messages can be both via messages, but also interactive voice messages in local languages so that actually everybody can understand what hazard is coming. Then there are also different platforms such as Telegram, Facebook, and others to make sure that the information reaches even those who don't have the smartphone. Although for signing up, you don't need smartphone. You can use smartphone for Telegram, WhatsApp, or any other group, but the messages can be delivered to any system, any phone that the person has. So basically in the system, the technician who has been trained selects which type of hazard he or she wants to warn about. It can be flood, it can be drought, but it can be any other hazard as well, meaning the system is fully adaptable, not only for floods and drought, but also, for example, for landslides, which we are now considering given the floods, given the landslides that occurred in Ethiopia this Monday. But in the past, we've used the system also for dissemination of COVID information. Then he or she selects how severe do we expect the hazard to be, extreme, severe, moderate, or minor. Then how urgently do we need the public to act, depending on the hazard. So the act should be immediately expected, future, or past. And then what should people do? So there are different kind of advices. What should people do? Evacuate, prepare, and so forth. But just to mention that the system can be also fully adopted. So these are just suggestions what we used in Cambodia, but basically depending on the system, depending on the context, this can be fully changed. Then which locations does the hazard affect? So here are basically some of the areas in Cambodia, but once again, it can be used in any other country context. And for the technicians who disseminate the messages, they can also test the warning. So making sure that there is actually a correct information. They can either test the phone call, because then people can receive a phone call, they can see the text message, or they can hear the audio. There are different channels, as I mentioned at the beginning, how to disseminate these messages, either by phone calls, Telegram channels, radio broadcasting, and by urban speakers in the communities, so that even people who don't have access can have the information. And as a final step, they send the warning. So that's all from myself, but I'm happy to give you more details or connect us with our technicians who are much more technically skilled than I am. So here is the contact, and I will be happy to discuss a bit more details. Thank you very much.